I was having kind of a hard night last night. I was talking to my husband about, where I want this channel to go. And I was expressing how I feel like I'm a little bit lost or I'm lacking some direction. And he asked me something, and I wanted to bring that here. He asked me, what is it that you want people to know about you? And I don't want to make it all about me in the sense that I'm always like talking about myself. But this is, I am growing a brand, and I thought that was a really profound question, and I thought that I should come here and talk about that. I just want people to know that I'm not a mainstream person, and I'm not going to promote mainstream ideas because I don't think they work. And I'm most definitely not for everybody. But what I want people to know about me is that I'm honest. I have good values. I come from a long line of poor people who persevered, who lived off the land, and made better lives for themselves because they had grit and character and spirit, so that I could get to sit here on YouTube and be basically like the most privileged person to come out of my family on both sides. And I think it's important to say that I'm not somebody who can be bought. Like, my soul is not for sale, in the sense that I'm not going to come on here and promote something that I don't fully believe in. And I'm not going to promote an idea that I know is a lie and that I know would be harmful to somebody else. At least not intentionally. I am culturally blue collar. I'm culturally conservative, which is not political, really. It's just, I come from cowboy culture, right? So it's just a different way. It's just a different way of living life. I actually don't believe in our political system. I think both sides are promoting evil agendas, and we should be very much aware of that. So I don't really think that any of that is real. I think that we are responsible for the changes that we want to see in our country. And I think that when you start to feel scared and you start to feel helpless, I think one of the best things you can do is turn inward. Turn inward, turn towards your dining table, turn towards the mirror, look at your family. If you don't have a family, build one, because it will be the most important thing you ever build. And when the world overwhelms me, I come home and I make sure my dishes are done and there's hot food on the table, and I make sure that I'm accountable to how much gratitude I have. I spend as much time addressing my own flaws as possible. Because it's really easy to become outward. It's really easy to become like, well, this is what's wrong with the world. This is what's wrong with you. This is what's wrong with everything else. This is what's wrong with... And it's like, I have to remind myself that I am the most important project I'll ever work on. And I work really hard at understanding myself, and there's still so much I don't know and I don't understand about myself. And so the more time I can spend pulling that apart and piecing things together and sort of healing and trying and accepting, there's a lot of things you're not going to be able to heal and you're not going to be able to fix, but you can do a lot of damage control by just accepting yourself for where you are. And I think that, like, accepting myself for the dark parts of me, the shameful parts, the things that I perceive to be shameful, they probably aren't actually shameful. Forgiving myself for anything I may have done. I think all of that is how you build a better world. I really do. I believe that me going out on the streets and being an activist is so not near as effective as coming home and looking at the mirror and being a more intentional steward of my world and this experience. And I'm a mother now, so it's obviously not all about me. It's raising the next generation within so much uncertainty takes a lot of... You have to pull away. I have to pull away from things like Instagram. I have to pull away from my cell phone. I have to create a lot of boundaries with technology and with the chaos of the world so that I can have a safe and loving home for my son to grow up in. And I think that I want people to know that I always have good intentions, but I'm not going to censor myself. And the truth isn't always palatable. The truth isn't always warm and fuzzy, and the truth doesn't always make us feel good. And I think that I want people to know that I live off the land as much as possible, but I have a long ways to go. I'm like a very intermediate and new type of homesteader, but I don't know if I want to call myself a homesteader yet. I come from a long line of homesteaders, and I am not near where any of them were at my age. I'm not completely relying on my own food system, is basically what I'm trying to say. I do what I can when I can, and nothing I do is ever as good as I want it to be done. It's never as perfect as I want it to be. Everything is extremely messy and complicated, and while I have these amazing ideas and these amazing values, sometimes you can just find me in front of the TV with ice cream. Granted, it's homemade ice cream, but at the end of the day, I'm still a millennial woman, and I want to be as authentic about all of that as possible. I guess what I want people to know is that I'm passionate about a lot of things. And so I don't really have the desire or the ability to niche down. I'm not just going to be able to talk about pregnancy. I'm not just going to be able to talk about motherhood. I'm not just going to be able to talk about homesteading. I'm not just going to be able to talk about what it means to be a woman. I'm not just going to be able to talk about one thing. I want to encompass things that fall along the same vein of like ancestral, traditional, bringing back tradition, bringing back family-centered homes, bringing back this idea of standing strong against institutions and systems and corporations, and restoring the ability to rely on ourselves as people, becoming more self-sufficient and personally rebellious. And there's a lot of healing that we have to do as a collective in order for that to happen. But I would like to contribute to the collective healing, hopefully in a positive way. I want people to know that I believe I have good ideas. And though I may be clumsy at conveying those ideas, it's important to me that I speak them, because I don't know how long my life is going to be. And I don't know if I'll ever really get the chance. And it's important to me that people know that I mostly am here to seek community. I think in a perfect world, it would be really cool if I could make a little bit of income. But my goal for income is like, it'd be cool if I could make $30,000 to $40,000 a year to like have a little bit of spending money, to be able to buy baby shower gifts for people, to be able to help my husband out and to help my family out, and to be able to contribute to my retirement account so that it's not just my husband saving towards retirement, you know? I'm not trying to start a fucking cult. I'm not trying to become a millionaire. I'm not trying to become some boss bitch entrepreneur. I'm trying to put out a video on YouTube every other week and talk about what's on my heart and talk about things I care about. Maybe create a few things that if people want to, participate in those or purchase something, then they can. Ultimately, it'd be really nice to find like-minded people that I could have a community with. Living so rural and living in such a blue-collar demographic, it's like in some ways I've found my people, but I really haven't, in the sense that like I'm also very sensitive and poetic and creative and spiritual and very intentional and like rebellious against certain industries, and so I'm not often able to find that with other people. So a lot of this is like seeking community. But I just wanted to be upfront and honest about all of that, because while this is multifaceted, my goals are not to make money off of anybody. I especially don't want to make money in a way that's not good for my soul. But I would like to feel heard, and I would like for there to be a place for some of the words I've spoken in case something happens to me and one day this is all my children have to watch or to look at. And I would like for them to gaze upon it and be proud of me and not be ashamed or embarrassed or disgusted by the content. And so I think kind of at the forefront of this, I just want to create something that's good and that's valuable and that maybe makes the human experience a little bit better. And it would be really cool if like I could provide people with hope in a time where we feel so powerless, because there's so much power that we each have as individuals. I want people to know that if something, whether it be the news, whether it be an influencer on your TikTok or your social media, or whether it be a doctor at the doctor's office or someone who has shamed you or made you feel small, if you've interacted with something that makes you feel helpless and afraid, stop interacting with that thing and take charge and go create the reality that you want, because it's right there. We were born to create. We are sovereign. Our souls are here for a purpose. The Creator, God, whoever, made you in his image, in its image. Whatever it is you believe in, whatever higher power, you are made in the image of your Creator. And so your soul has a purpose, and you matter. And not only do you matter, but you're coming here in human form with very human flaws and very human shadows and very human darknesses. And you have to create tremendous purpose out of this experience. And there's a ton of responsibility to that. But there's also a ton of levity in that you get the opportunity to contribute to the collective, and you get to decide what your legacy is. You get to decide what you leave behind. And there's just something very, very like tragic and beautiful about that. So I hope that there's someone who's seeing this or listening to this and feeling like they can find a home within it, because that's really what I want this to be about. I would really like to attract people who are they're just looking for more, and they just want to exercise their senses in a way that's different from what we've all been taught. And I'm a big fan of learning and curiosity and critical thinking, and I think that we could all, within this American culture, use a little bit more of that. So thank you for being here. This video didn't really have a theme, but it's here nonetheless. So thoughts, concerns, questions, just hit me in the comment section. And I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Bye.